So one of the hardest things you're going to do is learning to walk the line on what souls are worth keeping, which are worth upgrading, and which should be tossed right out. While opinions on that will vary greatly, there are still some core things that are true, and we're going to talk about those today. So I'm going to assume that a lot of you already know exactly where to find the souls sections. Otherwise, you're going to have a rough time actually putting souls on your monster. So getting to the screen that I'm on right now is not surprising at all, right? So let's start from there. We're going to talk about a few things as to how do you start sorting through souls? Which ones do you want to keep? Which ones do you want to upgrade? When do you want to stop upgrading them? And in addition to that, what do you do with the souls that you've decided not to upgrade? These are questions that a lot of people wrestle with, and I'm happy to help with them. So let's just get right into this by talking about how do we sort? And this is something that unfortunately a lot of people don't pay attention to. There's a nifty little toolbar over to the right here that has the options of equip, release, and sorting, and almost no one pays attention to them. In addition to that, no one looks at the number up here, which is the number of souls that you currently have, followed by the maximum that is possible to have of 6,000. When you're going through and choosing all your souls in here, it gives you a list of exactly how many souls you have in any given category, so you know which ones you're running a little high on and the ones that you really don't have almost any of and that you can be a little more free about keeping. So going through here, we're going to click on sorting, right? And we're going to take a look, and they have quite a few options here. So you're going to have the option to choose whether or not you want to see just your G1s, your G2s, G3s, G4, G5, G6. You can click any combination of them that you like. So that's one method of doing it. You can also choose the particular slot that you're trying to target. And this becomes particularly handy later when you're trying to choose between your 2, 4, 6, 1, 3, 5s because they kind of fill different roles. Additionally, you can choose the various types that you want to use, that you want to select, and this helps when you're trying to hit specific units. Alright, so we have that. The next thing I want to talk about is sorting out by particular substats. Now, personally, I think it's more useful when trying to decide when something's trash to say what you don't want, right? So if I'm going through here, let's just go through as a quick example. I'm going to choose Seductress, right? Seductress crit rate is very important. So anything with crit on it, I know I don't want to be in the stuff I'm going to move to trash. Then you might also choose, just because you want to take a look at them individually to see what they offer, that you don't want anything that's showing up here that is speed or crit damage or attack bonus, right? And once we have those, everything else that doesn't have that stuff is probably trash. And in those cases, we can check all and move to feed. But it's a little bit more to that, though, so we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second. That's how you use the add in or keep and decline. Clicking on the X means that it'll take out anything that has that particular stat. Clicking on the circle means it will only keep in things that have that stat. And then from there, one of the more useful sorting options that I've found is the substats options. And this is really important to me for when I'm sorting through my 1, 3, 5s. Because those are not an important primary stat where they have to be made up for in having really powerful substats. And it's not worth trying to spend all my time trying to go through substats that only show 1 or 2 substats to begin with. They should start with 3 or 4 so I know what I'm getting into and what I'm spending my gold on trying to level up. Okay, so that's our sorting tools. But from there, we're going to ask ourselves, which ones do we upgrade? And there are some easy rules to that. So first off, let's talk about where you are in the game. This is going to change. What the rules I'm telling you, they're how I look at it, and you should take the same kind of concept, have the same kind of thought, and apply that to where you're at in the game, right? So if you're just now doing G3, or a stage 3 or 4 on Orochi, you're not going to be able to throw away 4-star G4 souls. Those are going to be exactly what you want to get. But, like I said, take it with a grain of salt for where you're at in the game. When I start doing what I'm going to get rid of, right? What I've decided I'm going to turn into fodder, and which ones I'm going to upgrade. The ones I know I'm automatically going to get rid of are all G1s and G2s, right? These are the ones you get from Scenario that almost never have any substats. They are completely blind to what you're getting. This is what you equip when you are very, very first starting to play the game. The moment you start running Orochi and start getting the 3s and G3s and G4s, these are completely worthless across the board. So you can just go ahead, if you're anywhere near the stage where you're past that, and just select G1, G2, all to feed. They are now all in this tab over here that says to feed, and you can just pop right into when you're going to sort stuff out or when you're trying to feed souls, and it'll default go to the to feed tab, and you can just automatically just start taking anything in that category and feeding it right away. Okay, so we have G1 and we have G2. Well, what else do we actually get rid of? Well, there's kind of a tier bump at G4 and G6 where the stats get significant. It's not a linear progression. It's actually more exponential, going from 3 to 4 and then 5 to 6. So really our big important milestones are G4 and G6. So if you're starting to get G4 souls, it's about time you start getting rid of G3s. So in those cases, I also take G3s and I get rid of them. Say, just all to feed, you're good to go. Okay, so that's a T4, T6. I say T4, that's tier 4, and I know it's G4, G6, whatever. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You get the idea, right? Cool. Okay. So from there, I start taking a look at specific slots. Anything that is 1, 3, 5, anything. I don't care if it's G6. Some people may disagree with me on this, but it's a waste of money, especially if you're farming a lot. You are going to have more than enough that you have to choose from, that you can get rid of any 1, 3, 5s that have 2 or less substats. So that's 1, 3, 5 right here, right? And then you select the substats of less than 2 and 2. All feed. So you can already see that let me clear out any of the fillers here. Okay, so you can already see in our to feed tab, we have a huge number of souls that we've gotten rid of without having to do any real work whatsoever. And your day-to-day operation of trying to decide what to get rid of, this can be something you do to automatically just start cleaning stuff out. Now, if you're at the point where you're starting to farm souls 10, I hate to say this, right? But any G4 or G5 souls that are on 2, 4, 6 are infinitely is a hyperbolic term. Don't freak out. I understand. But it is a very inferior number to what G6 souls offer. The bump, and I'm going to put it up on the screen here right now. So this right here is the stats that you're going to see at level 15 on a G4, a G5, and a G6 soul. And as you can see, the difference becomes quite severe from going from G5 to G6. This means that nearly all of your stats, not nearly all, a large percentage of your stats are going to come from that jump from going from a G5 to a G6 soul and hitting level 15 on them. Which means that by the time you're getting G6 souls and you're farming Orochi 10, it's time to start really looking at what do you want and getting rid of G4 and G5 souls. So in those cases, you're going to select G4, you're going to select G5, you're going to go 2, 4, 6, and you're going to wipe them out. Now, me personally, this is just me being obstinate and stupid, right? Because this is probably the wrong way to go. I take out G5. I want to actually manually look at them and confirm that they are not premium runes, souls, sorry. And just deleting those. So for the time being, I just G4, 2, 4, 6, all of those, all... Yep, wrong way. Nope, I didn't want to go that route. 2, 4, 6, all 2 feet. Okay. So we now have those. I've just shown you basically all of the ways I make it easy for myself. From there, we start using our tools a little more. So what subs work with specific sets? Well, It takes a little bit of getting used to, but since we were already talking about Seductress, and Seductress will likely be the first thing you're really focusing on getting, you should get acclimated with what's important to a specific subset. So Seductress focuses around damage dealers doing lots of crits in order to pump the damage based on a Shikigami's HP. And so to that end, the important stats to us are going to be crit damage, attack bonus, and then from there you can decide how important speed or HP is depending on your particular builds. But generally speaking, if it is a soul completely devoid of those particular stats, you can assume that they're completely useless to you. But in addition to that, we can also take a look at 2, 4, 6 to also quickly rule them out. Anything with defense bonus on it, anything at all, is completely useless to you. There are no defensive-based attackers in the game thus far, and so to that end, they go away. HP bonus is something that I've heard some people enjoy a little bit, but for the most part, unless it has amazing bonuses, no crit, no crit. There is crit on that, but no other attack subs. I'm going to feed all of those, right? They're all going to go. Speed is super useful sometimes. It's hard to tell with, Seductress, since you specifically want them going after your attack bar booster. But that said, G6 is really all I would consider keeping in speed. Now this one happens to be a particularly good one in that it has attack bonus and crit rate. And so if I ever want to put a slot 2 speed on a Shikigami, I would probably keep this one for sure. So to that end, I'll get rid of the others. And again, the reason why I'm doing this is your difference between G6 and G5 is so significant, as you remember from the chart. Okay, so I've selected those. I'm going to click on to feed. They're gone. And then I'm going to go through and I'll do the same thing. Anything with effect hit, anything with effect res, crit rate, obviously you want to keep, even if it's not great. In this case, I'll keep that because I have almost no G6 crit rate runes. On Seductress, you take a look at crit damage. At some point, I want to get into that, but you do need a lot of crit rate already on your subs. Those both happen to already have it, so I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, so that's an easy set. Your damage dealers are easy set because they so reliably need attack, crit damage, or crit rate. What about something that's not as easy? So let's go over to something like Fortune Cat. Fortune Cat is frequently used on your attack bar buffers, on long-term units that are utility but need to stay in the fight for a long time. Generally speaking, they're not going to be part of your attack team, right? So in those cases, you're going to want to take a look and see what they actually have. So first off, let's take a look at the 1, 3, 5 positions, right? Everything that's in this should now be stuff that has 3 or more substats, right? They'll all have 3 or more. Okay, see? So we don't have to worry about them having a significant lack of subs. What we are going to worry about is the type of stats that we want to see on a Fortune Cat soul. So the first thing we'd want to see is anything with speed is going to be very good for us, especially since they always tend to go on attack bar boosters. The other things we want to get rid of from this pool is HP bonus, because HP bonus on our utilities are going to be very useful. From there, we start to have a preference kind of thing, right? But for the most part, I've now narrowed this down to about 8 souls that have neither speed nor HP bonus. They have 3 to 4 substats, and they're within the Fortune Cat range, right? On top of that, 6 of these are G4 runes and are likely going to have very low stats. G5 runes are similarly not going to have phenomenal stats compared to G6 runes, but we'll take a look and see what each of them has. So attack bonus, defense bonus, crit bonus. This would be an interesting rune on something like a Seductress, but otherwise, it's gone. Effect risk, flat defense, flat HP, gone. Flat attack, crit damage, and flat HP, gone. Flat attack, flat HP, and then a crit rate. Yeah, see, these are not useful. They're not going to be helping out a lot. And in general, they just don't mesh well, right? These aren't the kind of things you're wanting to look for in a soul. But this, for some reason, was, let's just say it was crit rate here instead of flat attack. You might go yourself, well, maybe I might have a support unit that does kind of a weird hybrid thing that wants some Fortune Cat. First one I could think of, possibly Aoinden, if you wanted to run her on Fortune Cat for some reason. She tends to be a hybrid damage dealer. But it's really, there's so few of them, and the niche is so absolutely niche that you have to try to, anything that's not really, really good, you need to just toss. Same thing for this. Not great, right? So I'm going to go ahead and move all of those over to feed. So that's kind of where we're looking at. And you just do this, you just keep going through. You know, you can get rid of half of all of the souls that are completely useless to you right away with using the initial methods I was showing you. You know, the later stuff is where you start getting nitpicky and doing like what I just did with the Fortune Cat set right there, or the Seductress set. And that's something that you'll have to find your own time to do. So now you kind of have a good method for sorting through what's good, what's not. How do you quickly sort through and make souls that you can feed to other stuff. Now we have a set of souls that we can feed to other souls. And the question then becomes, when does it become good to keep leveling a soul, and when does it become a bad idea? And that largely depends on the substats that it's getting at the intervals of 3, so at 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15, right? And at the point that you're at 15, it better be very good by that point, otherwise you probably wasted some of your energy and your time. Generally speaking, as my rule of thumb, if I get to level 6, and it's still not doing anything interesting to me, then I'm going to go ahead and just say that it's garbage and I don't want to keep it. To that end, it'll be good to know that anything that becomes garbage at level 6 is not a waste of your time, right? You can actually use it to get additional experience inside of your units. So one of the units I've been kind of hurting on trying to upgrade lately is my Yama. So we're gonna do some practice here with Yama. Yama has old stuff on her. She still has a G3 soul. Everything in general is not great. So I want to try to increase her speed a little bit. And then it's still important that I keep her on Fortune Cat. So what we're going to do is we are going to go and select Fortune Cat specifically, right? Fortune Cat, there we go. And we are going to choose anything with a speed on it. That's our main goal, right? So right now, this will tell you what you have equipped. And we're dealing with a 5 speed bonus on that one. We have 2 speed on this. And so we would like to see this get improved. But one of the most effective ways to actually make sure we actually see an improvement and not waste our gold is that we want to have it be a significant improvement. So if by 6 if we get to 6 and we still haven't got a single upgrade into speed, it's very unlikely that we're actually going to be able to beat that 5 by any sort of margin that we would care about. So let's go over and take a look. When you go in, you can see that you have everything sorted by grades and levels. You can change how you sort by different ways, but for the most part, the main reason to talk about the grades in these is that how much it actually gives you. So if you look, you're going to spend 1,500 to get 750 experience. There is no exponential increase if you use a G5 soul to level this, right? So it was half an experience per gold there. Well, here you get more. It's now 1,500 experience as opposed to 750, but it's 3,000 gold. So the truth of leveling these up is that it's basically a linear increase. You're always going to spend half an experience point you're always going to get half an experience point for 1 gold. That's just how it's always going to work. The one thing that modifies that, and I realize I just said always, but the one thing that does modify that is leveled runes, right? So a G4 soul normally costs 2,500, whether or not it's been leveled or not, right? So this one went to plus 15, and at this point I've decided I don't want it anymore. I still keep most of the experience, therefore making this a plus 12 when I level it up. So it's really important that you keep your leveled souls to use to feed to the souls that you want to make new ones with. But I generally would only recommend using something like this once you know you have a good soul on your hands. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go back to the level 1 souls, the grade 1 souls, and I'm going to feed them in to 3 first because I want to get a rough idea of what we're looking at. This especially works well when you're trying to feel out what the first hidden substat might be. Okay, so this one went into defense. We're already not very happy about that because it's flat defense. So let's go to G6, or sorry, to level 6. Okay. So here we go. We're at level 6. I'm going to go ahead and feed in, and we're going to see what this actually comes out with. So it came out with Effect Hit. Again, not super important for most of them that you tend to use Fortune Cat on. It could be useful. Main problem, though, is our really 2 important ones are speed and HP bonus, and neither of them have gotten that yet. So we only have another three power-ups to go with, and, you know, it's equal chance it's going to go into any one of these. We're already not looking good. I'm going to go ahead and abandon and say it's not worth it at this point, and this one is going to become fodder. So we have another one here, and also in slot, what is that? 5? 4? Slot 4. The other problem with slot 4 here, by the way, now I'm looking and seeing that it is slot 4, is that it's a G5 with a %. So you never want to put that much energy into it. But let's take a look here. Alright, so as normal, we're going to go up to 3 to see what we get. And this one is actually even worse off because it's starting with 2 substats I don't necessarily want. And it goes into defense bonus, which is alright. I mean, defense bonus is definitely valued at less than an HP bonus, but it's still useful. So let's just see where grade 6 goes in. Or level 6. I swear I'm going to stop messing these up eventually. Oh, crap. Okay, here we go. You got to watch it because they do mix in the leveled souls when you're sorting this way. If you don't want to have to deal with that, you just go by level increasing. Okay. There we go. Another 6. So we're going to try to see what this hits. Does it go to speed? Hey, it went to speed. All right. So now we're talking. We have something we could possibly work with. So at this point, I can take some of my souls that I actually put levels into and put it in there, right? So let's go ahead and take this one to 12. I have no qualms about that. Jump back over to this. There we go. And we're going to feed and we're going to see what we can actually get. So we're really hoping for speed. Come on, speed. Come on. Yes! Okay, great. Both the upgrades went into speed. We have a better soul here. And now you've actually seen a chance to see what it looks like when you get your improvement. So this is kind of what I was talking about with the 3 to 4 jump. You're going to see that at 12, this has quite a bit more. Actually, it's only a couple more, but still. You're going to see more in your substats. You're going to see more in your a little bit more in your primary stat. But going to G6, you would see significantly more in this case. So this is where this one probably won't last too long. I may not even take it to plus 15 because, again, without it being G6, that gets rough. So I'm going to switch those out, and bam, I have more speed on my Yama now. Congratulations, you've just learned about upgrading souls. Okay, so you now have, let's just say, 100,000 gold. Maybe less. You have 50,000 gold. Like, I can't upgrade a bunch of souls. What do I do with the stuff that I have? Well, you clearly can no longer upgrade, but there are a couple options. And you should be aware of those that are available to you. You should specifically know about release, because release has an interesting property if you release a G6 soul. And that is, when you release it, you get some amount of gold plus automatic super blessing with an Orochi scale, which is specifically important because you can use those to create new ones in specific slots that you want here with 50 of them. So let's go through again here just to show you again. We decided we don't want this, and bazinga! You get another super blessing. And you can keep going through, and every one of these are going to offer a reverse scale. So what do you do with the others? The others are interesting because normally speaking, as you're used to with souls being fed, it is 1 experience per 2 gold every single time, right? It is a linear increase, whether or not it's a G5 soul or a G1 soul. But it's not the case when it comes to releasing. When it comes to releasing, it's actually an exponential increase, right? Going from G2, and this is another interesting thing, by the way, going from, G3, which is a plus 15 rune that's giving me 300 gold, right? This is its base selling price. The base selling price does not increase if you have a leveled soul. And that's very important to notice, because if I had sold this, I would have gotten nothing for all of my effort of leveling this. So this soul needs to stay as fodder to feed to another soul. So we're going to leave it exactly where it is. But what's important to pay attention to is that the base price is 300 gold. When I go to a G4, it becomes 500 gold. So going from 3, which is 300, to 4, which is 500, that's a 66% increase. So let's take a look at G4 versus G5. We have a G4, which is 500, and then we have a G5, which is 1,000. That's a 100% increase. Okay, so 100%. We're talking about an exponential increase at this point. We're not talking about a linear increase. So finally, let's take a look just to confirm at G5 versus G6. G5 is going to give me, if I can actually get rid of this, G5 gives me the 1,000 gold, right? 5,000 gold for this. That is a 400% increase. So it is very important that if you're going to sell your souls, right, you sell the higher grade souls and you use the lower grade souls for fodder. Very important to remember that. So we're going to go through here and we're going to sell these real quick. I actually want to sell it without it so you can see what a non-G6 super blessing would look like. Your chances of getting a super blessing increase as you actually add more into this. It's automatic for the 100 or for the G6s, but you actually have to feed as much as you can into this one in order to get a better chance. I don't know the exact numbers, and we actually don't want to sell those particular ones. Okay, so go through and we'll sell all of these. And I'd like to just get to 100 so that I can guarantee a super blessing. Alright, so we're at 100. Bam. Bam, shazam on a lamb. Alright, we're going to release, get 60,500, but in addition to that, we're going to get some extra goodies. We're not going to get a reverse Orochi scale. Oh, never mind, we will. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I did forget. There is a chance that G5s will give you a reverse Orochi scale. But everything else though we got is because we got a super blessing, including the 7 Jade, the shards, the challenge pass, the normal scroll. You get all kinds of stuff in here. It varies. But inevitably at the end of the day, the main thing is to say if you want a high chance, you should submit a high number of souls. The more you're putting in, the better. So I generally like to just do 100 at a time just to make sure it's absolutely guaranteed. Okay, so that's that. So is there anything else you can do with souls? Well, yes, there's something very, very important you should do with souls. And a lot of people skip this, and it's to their detriment when they're going in to try to do Orochi. If you've already listened to my lecture or my guide on how to do Orochi, you'll know that this is something you should be doing. And that is, you should be going in and leveling up totems for your various Onmyoji. The most important one at the beginning being Saimai. But you can go in and do any one you want. So I don't think I've really done anything with Hiramasa. I haven't, so we'll put some stuff in him just so you can see. I'm going to feed him some souls. These souls are going to level him up, his totem up down there, which is going to give him stat bonuses. But in addition to that, every 10 levels, or every 5 levels, sorry, you get an increase in one of his talents, one of his skills. So this is how much he improves on all of his stats. And at certain intervals, you'll also get speed increases, which is very important. And then from there, you'll also get, if you've hit a multiple of 5, you'll get a notification that he has also leveled up one of his skills. So those are the two things that you can do alternatively to feeding with your souls, and I suggest you make use of them whenever you're running low on your gold. So yeah, that should be about it. I want to thank everyone for stopping by. If you liked it, make sure you leave a like. If not, then give me a dislike. Let me know how I'm doing. If you have any feedback or any commentary, please put it down below. I know I make some mistakes in these videos, and it's always helpful to see where people have alternate opinions. Please, feel free to read down below and see if anyone else disagreed with me. I always like that. If anyone does anything, points out something super important, I'll generally just go ahead and pin that one at the top as a correction. All right, thanks everyone for stopping by, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.